So thank you. And I really want to give a real big thank you and shout out to Rhonda and John, the panel that just happened. It was just beautiful and a wonderful setup for what we're about to present. So my name is Konda Mason, and I live in Oakland. And let's hear it for Oakland. Thank you. Thank you. So when I was asked to present or create a panel for this topic, it was right after the election, and the idea was to speak about the times that we're living in and to address people's, fears and angst and anxieties through a mindfulness lens. So I thought about the myriad of issues that have already surfaced since the election and that impact and have been impacting our communities in Oakland, and specifically the targeted immigrant communities, communities of color, and the queer communities. And so I thought about how the day following the election and continually since then, the immediate response in our community was to come together and feel the safety of our shared values, of deep inclusion, of compassion for all beings, of social justice, of personal well-being, and of living in integrity and with values. So I couldn't help but think about the wisest people that I actually know in the Dharma. And these are the people who are connected to the East Bay Meditation Center in Oakland, California. EBMC, we call it EBMC, is a gift economy-based meditation center in the heart of Oakland, and is serving the needs of our marginalized communities like no other Buddhist center known, with a yearly attendance of over 56% people of color and 41% LGBTQ people, LGBTQI. So I thought, these are the voices that I want to share today at this podium of Wisdom 2.0. Voices that are steeped in the Dharma and deeply into social justice as well, that intersection. Voices of compassion and wisdom, and that challenge the status quo. So I have my friends here on stage, and I want to introduce you to them. The East Bay Sangha, these are wisdom keepers in our Sangha. Kimmy Mojica, Spring Washam, David Foki, and Larry Yang. All of us are teachers at the East Bay Meditation Center and also have served on the board. Breaking out of the typical panel format and discussion, I thought that it might be better instead to just listen to each of them, and they're going to bring a bit of their wisdom to this podium. Really, it's about who we need to be in these challenging times. So each of them will come up and share some words with you. Kimmy?
Thank you. Thank you, Konda. Greetings. So given our current state of affairs, I'm sure many of you have felt an increase of worry, tension, doubt, frustration, and even moments of anger and outrage. Those emotions are probably showing up in the body, in mental, physical stressors, the loss of focus, maybe insomnia, exhaustion. I'm guessing the levels in which these emotions, rooted in instability, vulnerability, and uncertainty, may seem quite new or maybe even foreign to some of you. Reviewing the news and social media feeds, one may wonder, how could any of this be happening? It is 2017. Most would agree that the social upheaval in our society has an impact on our mental and physical well-being. And naturally, we want to do something about it. Within the communities I occupy and transverse, people of color, queer, immigrant, women, artists, and educators, we too are immersed in these same emotional states, but daily, like a relentless barrage, coupled with an alarming sense of fear, danger, and hypervigilance. My feeds are actually dominated by live warnings of security checkpoints and raids, requests for emergency housing, fundraisers for medical treatments and funerals, and videos like the one of a Black father teaching his 7-year-old daughter to state her name and say, "I have no weapon, officer. I mean no harm." Long gone are pictures of pandas and foodie porn. The current state of our affairs are threatening our very survival. Like Tamika D. Malroy at the Women's March in DC, today I say to you here at Wisdom 2.0, welcome to my world. Welcome to our world. Yes, the degree of individual impact and community devastation is vast and varied given the inequities and disparities that our country is built upon. Regardless of your particular standing in it, we are here in this together, whether we like it or not. We want change. Most of us want action. And instinctually, some of you even know that our humanity is at stake, and maybe that is why we are here today. Lila Watson, an Aboriginal activist, said, "If you have come here to help me, you are wasting your time. But if you have come because your liberation is bound up with mine, then yes, let us work together." This is the type of liberation we strive for at East Bay Meditation Center, and we are clear that our liberation is bound together. We cultivate courage and resiliency to seek right relationship with one another. Mindfulness practices afford us the opportunity to work intimately with our individual worry, anxiety, doubt, fear, and outrage, to recognize it and use it as material, energy, and information. In adverse situations, our natural defense responses appear: fight, flight, freeze, appease, even disassociate. Those emerge automatically from our body to protect us and keep us safe in the moment. They, however, do nothing to liberate us from the causes and conditions that put us and our community there in the first place, and certainly will not transform society. To move society forward, our strategies must be driven by our interconnectedness, that our individual and collective liberation are synonymous. Chinese American activist Grace Lee Boggs said, "The difference between rebellion and revolution is that revolution requires that the people go beyond struggling against oppressive institutions and victim thinking." And I would also add victim blaming. And she continues, that people must make a philosophical and spiritual leap to becoming more socially responsible and self-critical, more human beings. In order to change and transform the world, we must transform ourselves. And with that, I invite Spring Washam, one of our beloved co-founders, to speak more about that.
Thank you. Thank you, Kimi. So we've been given a task of these short manifestos. So I'll share with you my piece and say that we have entered into a very challenging time. And at the forefront is this issue of diversity and inclusivity. Who's in and who's out? This is playing itself out on the world stage, and millions of people are being potentially banned, deported, hate crimes, new laws being drafted that discriminate. In a way, nothing has changed, and yet everything has changed. Internally, there's also a shift happening. This is our opportunity to investigate our own deeply held beliefs. Opening to diversity is not just a noble idea. It's actually a genuine path that leads to wisdom and very deep compassion. Dr. King once said, "Our goal is to create a beloved community, and this will require a qualitative change in our souls as well as a quantitative change in our lives." Change. Change. On the absolute level, who we are doesn't matter. But on the level of the heart, race, gender, and sexual orientation matters. Friends, discrimination is taking its toll. As I awoke to this pain in my heart, the need to create something new and different, inclusive, grew stronger in me every day. Until recently, very few spiritually minded organizations even considered inclusivity as important. In the early days, and even recent days, no one talked openly about racism in spiritual communities. It has been a facet of the diamond left unpolished. Creating an open, inclusive community has been a healing process for me. And not easy. It's challenging. What I've discovered is that diversity is a radical shift because it accelerates our learning process. This journey of awakening is not supposed to be comfortable. Please get that. We all have internal hierarchies. Diversity challenges these set preferences, our biases. It becomes a mirror that exposes this. As spiritual practitioners, we want to see this. We want to see our delusions so we can overcome them. We envisioned East Bay Meditation Center as a place for all communities, LGBT, people of color, those with disabilities, all people, all beings, all those who feel marginalized. In order to do this, we had to think differently. I had to adjust and grow. I could not stay the same. I thought I was an open person, actually, when we started this. Then the Spanish-speaking people came and said, "What about me?" And then people with chemical sensitivity came and said, "What about me?" And then a group of transgendered men said, "What about me?" And I was getting overwhelmed. What about me? What about me? Everybody wanted a place. I started to feel the resistance and see these barriers. You may have noticed this. Resistance to that word, even diversity. Barriers to love. I saw fear and clinging. It was challenging, painful, and both liberating for me. I felt my heart expanding. Yes, I want to include you, all of you. Every new group needed us to change something a little bit. You see, that's what's hard. A little bit. And so as they came, I realized I wanted our center to be accessible, so I welcomed them. We made these changes. The core of Dharma is about opening, accepting, and including more and more parts of ourselves. There's something profound about widening your circle. Einstein said, "Our task must be to free ourselves by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature and its beauty." The only way to do this, my friends, is to engage. Every time I open the door, I grow. Thank you for this. And I'm going to turn it over to David.
Thank you, Spring. Greetings, everyone. James Baldwin once wrote, "One discovers the light in darkness. That's what darkness is for. But everything in our lives depends on how we bear the light." In referring to EBMC's success with diversity, one senior teacher said, "EBMC is a bright light, a model for the planet. EBMC is showing what's possible." Well, as the world of race relations around us gets darker, EBMC's light of diversity is shining just a little bit brighter right now. You know, I hate to break it to you, but we white folks are going to be a minority in this country pretty soon. Now, we can react to that in reality out of fear towards white nationalism and the somehow fancy notion that we could make America white again. Or we can move from love towards white transformationism, trying to somehow make America again, as the poem by Langston Hughes says. At EBMC, this means inviting us white folks to turn our mindfulness somewhere new, to our white privilege. Mindfulness, which can loosen the bonds of our conditioning, isn't complete until it includes attention to the bonds of our privilege. But conditioning of privilege doesn't show up eyes closed, but on a cushion. It only shows up in relationship with the other. Therefore, building an inclusive community with those not like us offers us white folks a path to freedom that is not available any other way. At EBMC, we also turn our mindfulness towards the structure of the systems we are creating. There's a maxim in systems theory. It goes something like, the structure of systems largely predetermines the outcomes. So we knew, for example, that EBMC should not operate under market economics because market economics tends to produce exclusionary outcomes. This audience, for example, is predominantly white, in large part because the conference is organized using a market economic system. It's not your fault. It's the operating system. Going off topic very briefly, I heard previous speakers talk about what is in this room having the potential to as a vector of transformation. That's what John Kabat-Zinn just said. Well, I hate to break it to you, but until this room looks like this country, you're wasting your time if you're thinking that. So I would stop, I would suspend everything else you do, and if you're truly serious about that, don't do anything else until you can change the operating system to make this room look like this country. So we're building instead a center using a gift economic system, which by its very structure favors inclusive outcomes. It's like PC or Mac. An operating system is a choice. What outcomes are being favored by the structure of the systems and algorithms that you all are building? I imagine folks at Google were a little distraught to learn that Dylan Roof, who killed 9 black parishioners in a South Carolina church, began his dark journey to white nationalism by his own words, by typing the words black on white crime into the Google search engine. And the first website the Google algorithm offered him publishes white nationalist lies and propaganda. Mindfulness of systems matters if you're trying to affect the world. Here are a few lines from that Langston Hughes poem, Let America Be America Again. Oh yes, I say it plain, America never was America to me, and yet I swear this oath, America will be. Out of the rape and rot of grafts and stealth and lies, we, the people, must redeem the land, the mines, the plants, the rivers, all the stretch of those great green states, and make America again. Folks at this conference could lead the way in making America again, in bearing the light, if we chose to use our privilege to build systems of inclusion. Thank you for your attention. If you want to read more of these thoughts, since we're all having to summarize our thoughts, I'm going to post an expanded version of this on a new blog I set up, and that includes a little bonus of some of my 2-year-old son's thoughts. And if you want to dialogue some more, hit me up on the contact page, even if you voted for Donald Trump. Actually, that would be a new level of diversity. Living in Oakland and hanging out with my 2-year-old son most of the time, I have yet to meet anyone who's voted for Trump. So, hit me up. Now I have the honor to introduce Larry Yang, another co-founder at EBMC, and the one individual in this country most responsible for the spread of what's in this room to communities of color.
So I'm going to start by paraphrasing an activist and revolutionary of our country, Thomas Paine, by saying that these are times that try our souls. And they are also times that challenge our spiritual and secular practice. One of the challenges is what is missing from this ubiquitous term of mindfulness. And that is an equal emphasis on ethics and integrity. Because we can be mindful of anything. A more subtle form of this is the conditioning that our market and advertising economy gets us to get as much as we can for giving as little as we can. We can be mindful of winning at whatever cost there is. We can be mindful of collecting material wealth. We can be mindful of gaining as much power as we can. The more acute form of this, in our ever-quickening evolution, or maybe devolution, into this post-factual, alternative, factual, post-ethical world, where truth is not respected and deliberately made to be confusing and obscure, where it is valued to be able to get away with anything, to say anything, and do anything in order to justify one's own outcomes. When there is less or zero accountability from our external culture, it is absolutely an imperative, an indispensable imperative for our internal efforts to have a moral barometer. Integrity. It is said in a classic wisdom that integrity is doing the right thing when no one is watching. I would expand this. Our mindfulness expands this experience that integrity is doing the wise and compassionate action when there is no material gain for us doing the action. Integrity is walking the highest path even when behavioral norms are at the lowest levels. Integrity is acting on behalf of others when we don't have to because we have some benefit or privilege or entitlement that protects us. Integrity is standing actively and not standing by in solidarity with those voices and abilities that have less volume or impact than ours. Integrity is being kind when everything around us is not. Integrity is loving when we don't ourselves feel loved. Integrity is holding to all these principles, even when there is an infinite number of distractions and seductions and judgments that seek to obliterate these principles. Without integrity, mindfulness, and I would extrapolate whether it's technological mindfulness or internal mindfulness, is morally meaningless. So what is our moment-to-moment practice of integrity? Where do you stand when now $21+ billion walls of fear, fueled by racial bitterness, are being designed to separate nations rather than create bridges of human understanding and connection? When $21 billion can buy enough food for 7 billion starving people. When $21 billion can create more clean water than twice the number of people in the world. When $21 billion can compensate 500,000 public school teachers for an entire year, what choices would our integrity make? And where does our integrity ask of us when our government of the people, by the people, and for the people is purely and only based on self-interest and self-defined facts by individuals or individual groups in power? Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King wrote, "There comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular. But they must take it because conscience tells them it is right." Integrity is not a personal practice, but a collective one that transforms all of us in all our communities. There is a wholeness of our collective journeys. And even though we may sometimes feel that the struggle of the issues of immigration or intentional large-scale incarceration, discrimination, gun control, obstacles to health care, sexual violence, elimination of voting rights, or the state control of our bodily functions in public bathrooms, sometimes it can feel that they are experiences for other communities. We are tied together in a single garment of destiny, caught in an inescapable network of mutuality. That's Dr. King again. That is the way God's universe is made. That is the way it is structured. Because only in an ethically wholesome society can we create a healthy system, social, economic, political justice, not to mention the spiritual freedom of mindfulness. And since each society is made up of each of us, because each of us are part of that experience of being human, that ethical transformation begins here with all of us awakening together with integrity. We do need wisdom 2.0. We do need wisdom 3.0. And just as we need that, we need integrity ad infinitum. Thank you.
That's it. That's it.
I'm just
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I just want to give a thanks to Kimmy, to Spring, to David and Larry, my colleagues at East Bay Meditation Center, our Sangha in Oakland. Thank you so much. I want to introduce you to them. The East Bay Sangha, these are wisdom keepers in our Sangha. Kimmy Mojica, Spring Washam, David Foki, and Larry Yang. All of us are teachers at the East Bay Meditation Center and also have served on the board. Breaking out of the typical panel format and discussion, I thought that it might be better instead to just listen to each of them, and they're going to bring a bit of their wisdom to this podium. Really, it's about who we need to be in these challenging times. So each of them will come up and share some words with you. Kimmy?
thank you. Thank you, Konda. Greetings. So given our
EBMC, we call it EBMC, is a gift economy-based meditation center in the heart of Oakland, and is serving the needs of our marginalized communities like no other Buddhist center known. With a yearly attendance of over 56% people of color and 41% LGBTQ people, LGBTQI. So I thought, these are the voices that I want to share today at this podium of Wisdom 2.0. Voices that are steeped in the Dharma and deeply into social justice as well, that intersection. Voices of compassion and wisdom, and that challenge the status quo. So I have my friends here on stage and impact and have been impacting our communities in Oakland. and specifically the targeted immigrant communities, communities of color, and the queer communities. And so I thought about how the day following the election and continually since then, the immediate response in our community was to come together and feel the safety of our shared values, of deep inclusion, of compassion for all beings, of social justice, of personal well-being, and of living in integrity and with values. So I couldn't help but think about the wisest people that I actually know in the Dharma. And these are the people who are connected to the East Bay Meditation Center in Oakland, California. So thank you. And I really want to give a real big thank you and shout out to Rhonda and John, the panel that just happened. It was just beautiful and a wonderful setup for what we're about to present. So my name is Konda Mason, and I live in Oakland. And let's hear it for Oakland. Thank you. Thank you. So when I was asked to present or create a panel for this topic, it was right after the election, and the idea was to speak about the times that we're living in and to address people's, fears and angst and anxieties through a mindfulness lens. So I thought about the myriad of issues that have already surfaced since the election, and that in
Current state of affairs, I'm sure many of you have felt an increase of worry, tension, doubt, frustration, and even moments of anger and outrage. Those emotions are probably showing up in the body, in mental, physical stressors, the loss of focus, maybe insomnia, exhaustion. I'm guessing the levels in which these emotions, rooted in instability, vulnerability, and uncertainty, may seem quite new or maybe even foreign to some of you. Reviewing the news and social media feeds, one may wonder, how could any of this be happening? It is 2017. Most would agree that the social upheaval in our society has an impact on our mental and physical well-being. And naturally, we want to do something about it. Within the communities I occupy and transverse, people of color, queer, immigrant,